Good morning from CHINABRAND here in Munich, and from me and my colleague today. We welcome you to our webinar Update COVID-19 Biopharma in China. It will be me and my colleague Qi Wang who will tell you something about the actual situation in China during and after COVID-19, as far as you can say after right now, and on especially the digital transformation that it brought. So let's jump right in. We have all been afflicted by the virus, and there's probably nobody who did not feel any effects of this this mess we're into right now. And it's also most people and business were not prepared for a pandemic like this. So we had the time of crisis management in the beginning of the virus, and now we're in the second and third phase that you can see here on this chart, which is the adaptation to the new situation and the reorientation, most important, the reorientation for companies. And this is why in this webinar we will talk about the new reality in China, and we will give some facts and ideas in regard to reorientation of a business. As we all know, China has been very advanced in digital business models, and also during the Corona crisis, this digital business models have proved very important for many businesses, and they have grown even more important now, and it is very certain that these digital business models will also keep on flourishing after the crisis. So that's why we will take some Chinese companies as examples to show what is possible online and what business models could be considered for pharmaceutical companies. As the webinar is supposed to be quite short, 30 minutes only, we will mainly focus on these three topics, which is firstly, we will give you an overview over the impact of COVID-19 in China. Then we will explain what the new reality in China is now. And third, and very interesting part is how digital businesses have been accelerated and how the transformation from offline to online has been accelerated by all these changes. So what has been the impact of COVID-19 in China? We have certainly seen some new or some political trends as answer or as reaction to the virus. That means there has been a lot of state intervention, not only in China, in many other countries. And this means obviously less freedom in decision for companies. But at the same time, there has been monetary support by governments for companies. In China, especially, it was tax reductions, but also subsidies for certain companies. Also measures like deferral of interests or other liquidity support for companies. There have been some new regulations and measures in regard of industrial policy. I think the most known one might be the export regulations in China, which led to many companies in China were not able to export certain products to other countries. There have been a strengthening of important industries, and which is also a big issue for many countries, not only China, is the national competitiveness. So especially in China, they realized that they are very much dependent on other countries in certain regards. And this made them draw the conclusion that they need to increase their own competitiveness and especially become more independent from other countries. So how's that done? It is done by trying to shift the whole value chain to China. Of course, this is not a thing that can be done in 1 or 2 months. but this is a plan, and even if it was not completely new after COVID, COVID certainly has accelerated this trend and made it more important. Also, the markets have not been undisturbed by this pandemic. Apart from the obvious decline in GDP growth, there have been changes in the industry structures and market forces. They are mainly due to bankruptcy of companies, even big companies, and mergers. And also remarkable is market distortion due to selective support by governments. The transformation have been accelerated. Here we especially mean the digital transformation, and my colleague Wang Qi will talk about this more in the last part of the webinar. And obviously there have also been weaker demand in many industries, but it can be said, even if many industries have suffered very much from the coronavirus, and even if there are not many industries that gained anything from this pandemic, it is certain to say that the pharmaceutical industry, if they adapt to the new situation, can at least draw some advantage of the whole situation. So what else has changed in China during COVID? There has been an increased budget on primary care in the healthcare sector, and some new regulations are about to be issued. Here I mentioned one from the National Healthcare Security Administration, which plans to issue new rules on in regard of basic medical insurance, especially in regard of retail drugs. And other changes included that due to the increased budget in Shanghai in March 2020, a lot of hospitals opened fewer clinics, which means that patients with fewer did not have to mingle with like the other patients, but they had like special departments just for fewer patients. And only in March, in Shanghai alone, 182 new fewer clinics opened up. Of course, there has also been more investment in advanced disease prevention capabilities and in digital solutions like 5G networks and artificial intelligence, which are also important topics, as we will see later. China also made some plans for the future. For those of you who are familiar with China, they will know this way of China in first making a plan to do something, and then afterwards there will slowly come the necessary laws and regulations to get these plans well on the road. So China vowed to develop and enhance the healthcare policy in its country, make new standards of distribution, and to issue new legislation to encourage online diagnosis and care. So let's come to the next part, which is a new reality during COVID-19 in China. We will cover the, as we think, most important points, which is the smaller patient volume, traffic and logistic shortfalls, legal changes, and some intellectual property issues. Due to Corona, there have been less patients in the hospitals. I think this is not only a phenomenon that we can see in China. This has been the same all over the world. This has different reasons. One is that the hospitals will only do emergency surgeries, but the second reason also is that the patients don't dare to come to the hospital because they fear infection there. This means in February only there have been 40% less patients than normally. Of course, this will normalize with time. So right now it's already more patients again, especially as some Chinese cities already declared that they are free of the virus. But we are certain that this influence on patient volume will still be seen in some months. And corresponding to the smaller patient volume, there's obviously also a decline of sales of medicines and medical devices. Also, medical services have not been used that much. So for hospitals, it means less profit. And for pharma companies, it means also less profit. We choose some examples, Chinese companies, and I will give you a short overview of how they dealt with Corona, or what structures they had implemented to be able to still be active during the Corona epidemic. So the first example is Beijing Beilu Yaoye, Beilu Pharmaceutical Company. And this is a quite big company, which is mainly active in R&D, production and sales of pharmaceutical products. Same as many companies, their net profit fell a lot during the first quarter of 2020. But they already had an online system implemented, which made it possible for their customers to still get supply of their very important drugs. For example, you can see on the right-hand side, they have oral anti-diabetic drugs. And if you were a customer of this company and had to take these drugs, on the bottom of this page, you can see how you could still get to the drugs. Like the first step is you have to follow the WeChat account of this company. And then in this WeChat account, you can apply for a receipt for the drug that you need. You will then have to choose a doctor that will have to issue this receipt for you, as these drugs are not free available in pharmacies. And you will then have the doctor issue this receipt for you, and you can then order this product online and it will be sent to you. So you don't have to get in direct contact with anybody, and you can just on your smartphone or your computer do all the necessary steps to get the drug that you need. Another example that I want to mention is LiPo LiPo Medical Co. Ltd., which is a company producing cardiovascular disease instruments and devices. And obviously also their net profit fell in the beginning of 2020. But what they did was, as they are a quite huge company, they already had a clinic, an offline clinic before the coronavirus. And as this offline clinic was not able to work properly during the Corona crisis, and as they wanted to avoid infection, during Corona, they extended their online services. That means on the bottom left-hand side, you can see they had a service for backtracing COVID-19 cases. And on the right-hand side, you can see that they extend their consulting services online to 24 hours, 7 days a week. So whenever you had any problems or issues that needed help, it was possible to call and get the necessary information. I will now come to the second problem during COVID, which is traffic and logistic shortfalls. We had them domestically and internationally. Domestically was problems like lack of couriers and regional restrictions, which meant that at some times it was not possible to come from one city to the next or to enter another province. So this also meant that products could not be sent freely from one city to the other. And on an international scale, we also had the problems that that, for example, products could not cross the border, or that countries restricted export, and also that import of raw materials was problematic. On the right-hand side, you can see an example, which is a big company producing vaccines, and they had a big problem because vaccines, as you all know, need to be cooled, and it was very hard to get the cold chain intact during this time, and also they had problems getting raw materials from abroad. One more thing to this slide, this traffic and logistics shortfalls are already getting less and less right now. So it's still a point that has to be taken into consideration right now, but these problems will get less and less over the time, and especially in China, there are less and less restrictions of free movement. There are right now still quarantines that have to be made when you travel from one city to another in some cities, like 14 days that you have to stay in quarantine, but all these measures will hopefully be reduced soon. Now to the legal changes. I have already mentioned some new regulations or plans for new regulations before. So here I want to mention some more changes. One is the medical materials export order that has been issued or has been taking effect starting from April 1, 2020. This regulation, this order, prohibited to export detection reagents, ventilators, and face masks if not the new requirements were met. And the new requirements were that you have to have the medical device registration certificate issued by the National Medical Products Administration, and that you had to show that your products meet the quality standards of the importing country. And as you all know, this is not something that you get in 1 or 2 days. So all the companies that did up to that time not have these certificates and were not able to prove that they met the quality standards had a hard time to get these documents, and were therefore for a long time not able to export their products. Other changes during the COVID epidemic have been that the market authorization holder system has been defined more. This is a system that has already been introduced in China in the new drug administration law. It makes it possible that a market authorization holder it makes that a market authorization holder not necessarily needs a manufacturing capacity. So that means you can cooperate with a contract manufacturer organization, and when you and the contract manufacturer, when the market authorization holder and the contract manufacturer organization both get a drug manufacturing license, you can then proceed to get the market authorization. So this is a system. This is a very short summary of this system, which is obviously more complicated. You can get more information on this in our former webinar, which you can find on YouTube. But anyway, this system has been more specifically defined during the Corona crisis, and new regulations in this regard have been issued. So this shows that China tries to stay up to date with its regulations and renews them as necessary, and pushes the development in this area forward, even during the Corona crisis. In regard of intellectual property, there are two things that I want to mention. One is the compulsory licensing in China. I want to talk about this because we have heard a lot of concerns from companies in Europe that they fear that China will make use of compulsory licensing to be able to use some patents or utility models that have been registered. What I want to say about this is the measures for compulsory licensing already exist from 2012 on, and they grant the they allow the Chinese National Intellectual Property Administration to grant a compulsory license on invention patents and utility models. However, they are only allowed to grant this compulsory license if there's a state of emergency, extraordinary situation, or if it's necessary to maintain the public interest. So actually the conditions are very strict, and so far I don't know of any cases where this compulsory licensing has really been abused by Chinese government. So even if this is something to keep in mind, that potentially it might happen in China that you have to license somebody on your patent, this is not something that will happen regularly. So yeah, I just want to mention this. Even if it's important, it's not like a really big risk. And one other interesting thing, even if it's also not new, is that it's possible to pledge your trademarks and patents for securing a loan. And especially during Corona, this has been once again mentioned by the Medicines Agency and the Intellectual Property Authority, who made the application for a pledge like this and to get a loan even easier, and made that it's possible to get the loan faster. This can also be seen in a very impressive example where a biomedical company received a loan on the amount of 30 million RMB within 1 day from the China Construction Bank. So now I want to hand over to my colleague Wang Qi, who will tell you more on the digital businesses.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Chen Wang. I'm really glad to be here to do this webinar with my colleague. Okay, in my part, I will introduce more about the Chinese online pharmacy. This picture is come from McKinsey, which forecasts the COVID-19 will accelerate the digital transformation. You can notice that the left part is the internet healthcare ecosystem. So there are three subjects. The first is the healthcare payer and the healthcare provider and the products. Normally, the healthcare payer is a government, so the province's government implemented online BMI basic medical insurance settlement of the internet-based medical expenses. And also this provider more visits the National Health Commission hospitals with the online channels. And we also can see the medical products also increase by the online description volume. And the right part is about the digital commercial model. You can notice a lot of commercial activities will choose the online model, and a lot of companies interviewed are considering the online model to post-outbreak. Okay, let's get into the telemedicine. So I would like to divide into the telemedicine into two categories. The first one is the internet hospital, which was set up by the public hospital. Actually, before the COVID, this kind of public hospital was provide service for have already provided service for the patients, because in China a lot of good medical service was focused in the big cities. So this kind of public hospital is provides the good service for the small cities people. While during the COVID-19, an increasing number of public hospitals start to use this online model to solve patient service. So the first one is because it can reduce the contact between doctors and patients, and also can eliminate the threat of infections. So you can notice that the left picture is about the Jiangsu people's homepage, and you can also notice that the right part is about the doctor sitting to the computer to provide consultation for the patient. Okay, the next chart is about the specific procedure of the patient, how to get the service. This first step is to trigger patients. Then a specific doctor will talk with the patient with phone call or video call. And then the doctor will dispense a prescription for patients. The patient can finish the payment online and the pharmacy store will arrange the delivery. So it means that the patient can finish all the service in home. Okay, the second category is about the online pharmacies and doctors. Normally, the internet hospital will belong to one public hospital, and in these categories, this kind of platform or apps can covering all the service from the internet hospital, and people can use this kind of apps to different places, hospital and different doctors. The first kind is the Dingshan doctor and the Chunyu doctor. Until February 1st, these doctors have answered more than 530,000 coronavirus consultations in the Chunyu platform. And the second kind is Ali Health and Tencent Healthcare. These two kinds can provide more services than the Chunyu doctor and Dingshan doctor. These two both are the one-stop healthy tech ecosystem where patients can schedule appointments, consult with doctors, get diagnoses, treatments, prescription, all from the mobile devices. Until January 13, 2020, Ali Health's online platform has answered more than 2.8 million consultations for the new coronavirus via their platform. Actually, the Ali Health and Tencent Health have something in common, and here I will introduce more specific details about the Ali Health. This is the development of the Ali Health. It formed in 2014 after Alibaba and Winfeng Capital Ltd, a private equal firm set up by the Alibaba. And in the April of 25, Alibaba Group invested $2.5 billion in Ali Health. In 2018, the internet healthcare was expressly supported at the government level. And last year, Ali Health provided a new digitalized solution for the chronic patients. Okay, this chart is the 5 main service from Ali Health, and I will introduce each item in the following chart. So the first part is the e-commerce. You can notice that the following picture between the first one is the Tmall shop, and then is the Taobao shop where you can buy the medical products from these two online shops, and most of the products is same from these two shops. Okay, the second part is the e-treatments, where people can use Alipay app to scan the QR code you can notice in the right hand. And when people use the Alipay app to scan this code, the people can get diagnosed and get diagnosed prescription, and from this kind of service. And I have mentioned that since last year, Ali Health provides a new digital solution for chronic patients. To be specific, these chronic patients can use the e-commerce to get medicine, can use e-treatment to get prescription, and it's convenient for the chronic patients. Okay, this is the other three parts. So the third part is the intelligent medical treatment. It is mainly to solve the medical problem in terms of artificial intelligence. The intelligent recognition ability can recognize different kinds of text, pictures, and psychological signals. So the AI platform indicates the AI technology is used in the aspect of pharmacy. The medical product sources can help people know who is the manufacturer and who is the retailer. So it means that people can know more information about the medical products and can track the products. And patients also can use this function to avoid buying counterfeit drugs. And the consumer medical service, it is different from the online treatments. It will more relate to the medical cosmetology and the dental service. These are the basic content and service from Ali Health. And during the COVID, Ali Health also developed some service especially for the virus, including making testing appointments and providing health codes. Starting from April 21st, Ali Health has offered testing appointments in 10 cities, including Shanghai and Beijing. And this kind of service extended in 28 more cities during 1 week. So the public system will require to register this kind of codes, and the people will get different colors. And the green code means that people are able to travel freely. So it means that people can use the public transportation, can go to the mall. And if people get the yellow code, it means that people should stay at home for 1 week, should self-quarantine for 1 week. If unfortunately you get a red code, it means that people need to spend 2 weeks at home. So in summary, before COVID-19, Chinese pharmacy industry, including the pharmacy company, as my colleague mentioned, the LiPo, and this kind of pharmacy company and the hospital and the medical service provider already have the online pharmacy platform to provide service for the patients. And furthermore, during the COVID or after the COVID, it accelerates the digital transformation. The internet healthcare ecosystem boosted during this outbreak. And in the future, the medical service provider will develop their online service and the channel, and at the same time, the patient also prefer use the online way, because it's more convenient and efficient. That's all my content.
Thank you very much, Wang Qi. That was very interesting, and it's a pity that we are already over time, because it's a very interesting topic. So to keep it short, if you need any help in China in regard of market forecasts or competitive intelligence, compliance with the regulations, or if you just need information on the regulations in China, we are glad to be of help, and you can find us online. I will show you the website later on too. Please feel free to contact anytime for any questions in this regard. Thanks again for your attention. And the last thing I want to do is just let you know that we are planning a trade secret webinar covering the protection practice in China right now of trade secrets. And we haven't decided on a date yet, but you can also find information on our webinars in general on our website, which you can see on the bottom of this slide, www.chinabrand.de. And yes, we hope to see you again in one of our further webinars, and wish you a pleasant rest of the day.